Hello, the Quill Oracles here, episode 5. Thanks for joining us. Overcoming writer's block using tarot, crystals and energy work. Hello lovely souls, and welcome back to the Quill Oracles, where we blend magic of storytelling, self-publishing and spiritual wisdom, one heartfelt episode at a time. I'm Amanda Clarke, your host, your literary oracle and your fellow creative wanderer. And let me tell you, today's episode comes from a place, a very real place, one I think you might relate to. So just let me take you there for a moment. The other evening I decided I needed to get out of my own head and headed out for a walk. My place is right on the coast overlooking the Indian Ocean. If you're not familiar with where I am from, I live on a little Scottish dog-shaped island in the middle of the Indian Ocean. It's Christmas Island. It's closer to Indonesia than Australia, but we are actually in Australian territory. Anyway, all that aside, I decided to take a walk along the pathway that runs the length of settlement right outside my front door, and just so I could get with nature a little bit, breathe in the fresh air and generally just take a break. You see, I'd been sitting at my desk trying to force words that just wouldn't come. Pages that were just sitting half empty, my ideas felt flat and my energy was meh. So I was doing that thing where you sit at your desk hoping inspiration will land like a lightning bolt, but all you get is the urge to clean the fridge and reorganise your sock drawer. Procrastination much? So I walked and I breathed and I let my thoughts unravel with the tide, and somewhere along the trail, surrounded by the wind and the waves and a few loud frigate birds chasing bosuns for their food, I remembered something really important, that writer's block isn't just about words, it is also about energy. And that's what today's episode is all about. So if you've ever sat there with your fingers hovering over the keyboard, feeling like your creativity's packed its bag and done a runner, this one's for you. We're going to talk about how you can use spiritual tools like tarot cards, crystals and simple energy clearing practices to shift your blocks, clear your mind and get you back in the flow and help you being masterful, creative again. We're not going to do this in a fluffy, airy, fairy way. It's a practical, soulful and gentle, powerful way that's right for you. And especially for those of us who have experienced so much in life, who have lived a little or a lot. Because let's be honest, we've got stories to tell, we've got wisdom in our bones, and sometimes we just need a nudge from spirit and maybe a little lapis lazuli to get those stories moving again. So grab your journal, grab your cuppa, grab a crystal or two. This episode, episode 5, Overcoming Writer's Block using Tarot Crystals and Energy Work. Let's get unstuck together. Hello beautiful souls. Pull up a chair, pour yourself a cuppa or a cheeky glass of red. No judgment here. And let's talk about something that bites us all in the backside now and again. Writer's block. Right. That foggy, frustrating, I'll just reorganise the linen cupboard instead of writing feeling. We've all been there, staring at a blank page like it just insulted our mother. But here's what I've learned over the years. Writer's block isn't just in your head. It's not always about not knowing what to write. Sometimes it's energy, it's emotional, it's spiritual and it's gunky. And today I want to show you how I use tarot cards, crystals and a bit of soul shifting energy to work to clear that block and get back into flow. Not a floaty unicorns and rainbows way, but in a grounded, let's move the crap out of the way so our truth can speak kind of way. So if your inner author has been snoozing, sulking or second guessing herself lately, this one's for you. Let's talk about the block and why it's not your fault. First up, can we stop beating ourselves up when the words don't come? You are not lazy, you're not unmotivated, you haven't lost your gift. You're just blocked, and sometimes that block isn't because of a lack of ideas, it's because life has happened. Maybe you're holding on to old grief, or maybe you're still trying to write like your year 10 English teacher is judging you. Or maybe you're just bloody tired because you've been everything to everyone for decades, and now that you finally have time to write, your soul is whispering, hang on love, we've got some old energy to move through first. Sound familiar? Yeah, I see you. Tarot isn't just for fortune tellers, it can be a writing compass. You know, I love my cards, not because they predict the future, but because they reflect back what's already swirling around inside of us. Our intuition, our untold stories, our emotional truth. Back to tarot being your creative oracle. Let's talk about one of my absolute favourite ways to kickstart creativity and shake loose the gunk that clogs up our writing mojo. Tarot. Now, before you roll your eyes and tell yourself, I'm not intuitive enough for tarot, hear me out. This isn't fortune telling or predicting some dramatic plot twist in your life. This is about activating your inner knowing, that deep, wise part of you that always had something to say, if only you'd let her speak. And here's how I do it. Pull a card. Before you write, here's how I use tarot, especially when I feel stuck or unsure where to start. I set the scene, I breathe, I light a candle or incense, and if I'm feeling fancy, and that's when I ask what energy wants to come through my writing today. That's it. No big ritual, no pressure, just intention. Then I shuffle my tarot deck or flip through one of my own tarot books. Yes, sometimes 78 cards is just too much for my frazzled brain, and I'd rather let the universe pick a page. Whichever way you do it, point it is to land on something, a symbol, an image, a message that cuts through the noise and connects you back to your true self today. Maybe you'll pull the High Priestess, and she'll encourage you to stop overthinking and trust your inner knowing. Write from your intuition, not your outline. Maybe you pull the Tower, and yes, it's a bit dramatic, but she often signals that something needs breaking down. Maybe today's the day you write about the things you're scared to say out loud, the mess, the grief, the stuff you've been swallowing for far too long. The magic of this, it gives you a place to begin. You're no longer staring at a blank screen or waiting for lightning to strike. You're in motion, and that motion creates momentum. And here's the real juice. When you write from this place in your gut, your heart, or your higher self, that's where the gold is. That's where the soul of your writing lives. Number 2, use tarot as prompts. Let the cards speak your story. If pulling a card gives you direction, using it as a prompt gives you depth. Every single tarot card is a story, a character, a truth, a moment. It's a little doorway into something tender or wild or courageous inside of you that's ready to be explored. I'll never forget the day I pulled the Hermit. I thought, great, solitude again. But when I sat down and it opened up something with me, it cracked it open, and I ended up writing a whole piece about the silence of my marriage ending, about the terrifying quiet that once the chaos stopped, and how that silence, which I once thought would kill me, actually became my sanctuary, a place where I could finally hear my own voice again. That one card, it wasn't just a prompt, it was a bridge from pain to power, from numbness to clarity, from survival to self-expression. That's the power of tarot. And you don't have to get it right to access that. You don't need to know all the symbols and all the meanings. You don't have to follow a fancy spread. Just ask the cards, what does this card stir in me? What memory or feeling rises? What would I say if I wasn't afraid right now? Let the archetypes guide you. The Lovers, write about choice, vulnerability, connection. Maybe you pull Death. Write about endings, transformation, the things you've outgrown. The Empress. Write about nurturing, creativity, motherhood, or birthing something new, even if it's just a paragraph. Tarot isn't just for mystics and moon gazers, it's for storytellers. It's for women like us with full hearts and full lives and a whole lot of what we've got to say. Write what comes, even if it's raw, even if it's messy, especially if it's messy. You'll be amazed what unfolds when you stop trying to be profound and just let yourself be true. Because when you write from this place, from your intuition, from your edges, from your soul, you're not just writing, you're remembering who you are. Crystals, your quiet little cheerleaders. Crystals, some people see them as just pretty little rocks, but those of us who've walked through fire and reinvented ourselves and come out the other side with shaky knees and a deeper knowing, we feel the frequency, we understand the power of holding something solid and ancient while everything else feels fluid and uncertain. Crystals to me are like quiet little cheerleaders. They don't shout, they don't give advice, and they simply just sit beside you with their soft humming energy and say, I've got you. Now, I'm not saying a chunk of amethyst is going to write your book for you, but I am saying when you're tired, frazzled, blocked, or doubting yourself, having that stone in your palm, on your desk, or wherever around you can shift something, not in your to-do list, but in your energy. Here are a few of my favourite writing companions. Citrine, this golden beauty, is like sunlight bottled into a stone. She's the crystal of clarity, creativity and confidence. On days when imposter syndrome is making a racket in your head, Citrine whispers, you've got something valuable to say. Now go say it. I keep one by my laptop, especially when I'm tackling a difficult chapter or trying to get back into flow after a break. Lapis lazuli, this deep indigo stone, is the queen of truth and voice, connected to the throat chakra. She's when your words are knotted up, or maybe from years of silencing yourself, maybe just from a rough day. Lapis helps us to say what we need to be said, not what people think or want to hear. Authenticity over polish always. And amethyst. Oh, sweet amethyst. The calm in the storm. She's my go-to when I need to slow down, reconnect, and drop out of anxiety. If you're trying to write through overwhelm or your nervous system is in overdrive, amethyst is a gentle hand to your heart, helps you tune to your higher guidance and breathe through the fog. And carnelian. Now here's your get it done stone. Carnelian is like a double espresso shot, bold, fiery, and impossible to ignore. She gets your blood moving, wakes up your root chakra, reminds you that your story is powerful and deserves to be told. She's great for blasting through procrastination, especially if you've been in the thinking about writing phase for a bit too long. You don't need a full altar or crystal grid. You just one stone, one intention, one moment of connection. Hold it in your hand, place it in your journal, pop it in your bra. Yes, I've done that, and there's no shame in that. Let it support you, steady you, and energize you. Crystals won't replace your writing practice, but they'll support it. They'll stand beside you, quiet, grounded, glowing, while you take the leap. And sometimes that's all we need. Energy clearing, moving the gunk. Now let's be honest, it's not about writing, it's about everything else. You sit down to write and suddenly the weight of the world presses in. Your brain's buzzing, your chest is tight, and your thoughts are playing bumper cars with each other. You stare at the screen like it owes you money, and still the words don't come. That's when I know it's not a creative block, it's an energetic one. We're not just brains and hands, we're energy, emotional memory, and all of that stuff. The grief you haven't named, the stress from your work, the fear of not being good enough, it collects, it settles in our bodies, our breath, our writing spaces, and if we don't clear it, it becomes clutter. Not the kind you can tidy up with a label maker, but the kind that just clogs your spirit. So here's what I do when the words won't come and I feel off. 1, burn something, and not your manuscript, though I've been tempted. Light something. Create ritual. Shift the energy in the room. It could be sage, Palo Santo, a stick of sandalwood, incense, or even just a tea light candle. The flame doesn't have to be fancy, it just needs to be intentional. As the smoke curls through the air, imagine it collecting all the energetic dust and carrying it out the window. I sometimes whisper, clear the noise, call in the peace. Ritual doesn't have to be dramatic, it just has to be real. 2, move your body. Energy gets stuck in our joints and our hips and our shoulders, and we're often walking around like spiritual Tupperware full of sealed up emotion. Shake it, stretch it, walk it off, put on a song and dance like you're in the 80s music video and no one's watching. Or they are watching and you're giving them a show. That's my favourite. Even 5 minutes of movement can unstick what's stuck. Number 3, breathe with intention. I know, everyone says just breathe, but hear me out. When was the last time you actually did? Try this. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Do that 5 times. And watch what happens. Sometimes our creativity is just waiting for us to come back into our body, to feel safe again, steady again, present again. Number 4, speak an intention. Say it out aloud. Write it down, whisper it in your tea. Something like, I release blocks that don't belong to me. I give myself permission to write without pressure. I am clear, I am open, I am ready. You're not just clearing space in your room, you're clearing space in your soul. Because let's face it, you can't write when your spirit feels heavy. You can't write from a place of creative constriction. You can't channel magic when you're wading through muck. Clear it out. Make room for truth. Let your voice rise like smoke from the ashes. Real talk. It's okay to pause. All right, love, let's slow it down for a sec. We've talked about crystals, tarot, clearing energy. But what if even after all of that, the words still don't come? What if you're still sitting there, blinking at the cursor, wondering if you've lost your spark completely? I'm going to tell you something that most right everyday gurus won't. It's okay to pause. Not just okay, sometimes it's essential. We live in a world obsessed with output. Write more, post more, publish more, hustle harder, brand yourself, grow your platform. But here's the truth. No one tells us often enough. Writing is a sacred act, not a productivity contest. And sometimes your creative well runs dry because you're not broken, but because you've given so much of yourself to your family, your job, your healing, your whole damn life, that there's nothing left to pour onto the page. You are not failing. You're resting. You are recalibrating. And you are refilling the well. Now let's be real. There's a difference between a nourishing pause and avoidance. You'll feel it. A sacred pause feels like, I don't need some space right now. I trust the words will return. Avoidance feels like, I'm scared to even try because what if I suck? What if no one cares? What if I'm not good enough anymore? If it's the latter, that's your inner critic talking, and she's loud when you're vulnerable. But guess what? You don't have to silence her. You just have to write anyway. Smart talk. Write a list, a journal entry, a love letter to your younger self, a crappy poem, a sentence that begins, I don't know what to write, but, because the act of showing up gently without expectation is how you remember you can. That's how the block begins to break, not with pressure, but with presence. You don't owe the world your productivity. You owe yourself your truth. And if your truth today is that you need a break, take it. But if your soul is whispering, I'm ready now, just a little scared, then light that candle, pull that card, grab that crystal, and write the next word. You don't have to finish the book today. Just begin. Final words. A walk back to yourself. So here we are, full circle. We started this episode with me going for a walk to get out of my head. Feet crunching over the coral-studded ground and salt wind in the hair and the waves crashing, reminding me to breathe. I didn't set out that evening to solve anything. I just needed to get out of my own head. But as I walked, with no phone, no pressure, just movement and presence, something softened. The fog in my mind lifted, the tension in my chest eased, and that quiet voice inside me, the one that gets drowned out in the noise of the deadlines and doubts, she came back. And that's what today's episode has been about. Not about fixing yourself or forcing the words, but about returning gently, spiritually and creatively to your own rhythm. Through tarot, through shimmering crystals, or through sacred smoke and breath and brave decision to pause when needed. Because creativity isn't a factory line, it's a living, breathing thing, and like the tide I watched that evening, it rises and it falls, and it flows and it retreats, and it always returns. So if ever you've been feeling blocked or disconnected from your writing, I want you to know this. The words are still there. Your voice is still yours. The path back is still open. Maybe today you'll pull a card, maybe you'll hold a stone, maybe you'll go for your own walk, just to remember how it feels to be in your body, not just in your head. Whatever you do, trust that even this moment, this breath is part of your unfolding story. You're not behind, you're not too late, and you're definitely not alone. Thank you for joining me today, beautiful souls. If this episode spoke something inside you, share it, or with a sister who is also ready to find her words again. And don't forget, if you want to explore this energy work even deeper, the Crystal Path Healing Energies and Meditative Journeys is waiting for you. Just the links in the show notes, and remember to use the promo code Amanda sent me for 10% off, and you also get free shipping. Until next time, keep riding, keep shining, and always remember, the answers you seek are within. Cheers for now.